But you want to hear about the cherry on top of the trip?
Yes. Yes.
That was Thursday night. I got there on Wednesday. That was Thursday afternoon, that recording session. The second thing that I dreamed of, that I asked Square Enix to accommodate if they possibly could, and I said, if there's any way you can do this, this is the closest I'm ever going to get, probably. I want to meet Romy Park, who played Ed. I don't know how many of you know this, but she was supposed to be a guest at Anime Expo 2 years ago with me. I was going to introduce her. I had a gift for her. I bought her this beautiful Stetson cowboy hat that she loved. I mean, I asked a Japanese girl, what should you give a Japanese lady as a gift? And she said, well, give them something that is indicative of where you live, something that represents where you're from. That was easy, right? And then I looked on the internet and I saw her wearing a cowboy hat once, and I'm like, okay, I know she likes cowboy hats, and it's right where I'm from, so it's perfect. Bought this beautiful hat, it's beautiful. And I don't know if you guys know the story, but I just landed in LA for Anime Expo, and when the staff picked me up, they said, we got some bad news. Romy's passport expired. She didn't even realize it because she never goes anywhere. And so she literally was at the airport. She was at Narita Airport in Tokyo, and they wouldn't let her on the plane because her passport expired. They said they were on the phone with her and she was sobbing because she was so excited about coming, right? She'd never even been to a convention in America. Never been, okay? So for the last 2 years, guess what's been sitting on a shelf in my closet? This cowboy hat. Mizushima, the Japanese director of Full Metal, told me at a couple of conventions I've been at with him, I would be happy to give it to her, take it back and give it to her. And I said, you know, thank you, I'm honored, but I want to give it to her myself. When that would ever happen, who knows? So I told Square Enix, if you can possibly make this happen. Well, Pakistan, very busy, you know, we may not be able to make happen. Like, please, anything, if you can do that, please. The day before I left, I got an email that said, you are scheduled to have dinner Saturday night in Roppongi, which is like the nightclub district of Tokyo, with Mizushima-san, 2 producers from Aniplex, a Square Enix producer, and Romy. So I showed up at this club, or this incredible Japanese restaurant Saturday night, and she came in, and I mean, it was amazing, you guys. I videotaped a whole bunch. I didn't. I had somebody videotape a lot of it, and she's so cute, and she was so sweet. Doesn't speak a word of English. So the whole time it was like, you are so wonderful.
Thank you.
And I'd be like, you are so wonderful. And the translator would say, you know, whatever the translation is. And she would go, oh, you know, and she would say something and he would translate. But by the end of the night, we were like pals. I mean, I gave her the gift and she was like so overwhelmed. She was like, I want to give you something, you know, and of course, all of this is through the translator, but this is what she said. She's like, I want to give you something, and I'm like, you know what? The honor of you attending this dinner was gift enough for me, just to get to meet you in person. And I mean, we just hit it off. At one point, we're eating dinner, right? We're across the table, and we're talking up a storm through the translator. And at one point, Romy says, I want to hear you do Ed. And I said, I want to hear you do Ed. So we did it. So I did a little thing for her, and she was like, oh, and she looked at Mizushima, and Mizushima was sitting beside me, the director. And he was like, and he said this to the translator, of course, he said, you know, I was the one that chose you to play Ed. He said, Funimation sent your audition and a couple others to me for approval, and I chose you. And I'm like, I looked at the translator, I'm like, how do you say, I love you? By the way, you know that I have CDs, right? Music CDs. A lot of you know that I do music. Well, I took CDs, and then in addition to the cowboy hat I gave Romy, I gave her a couple of my CDs. And she sings as well, so she was very excited. And then I gave Mizushima-san some CDs as well. And so he says through the translator, I wish I had a gift for you. And I said, not necessary at all. Well, about 20 minutes later, I say to Mizushima, where do you get your cool hats? I don't know if you've seen pictures of him. He always wears these really cool caps. He always wears them. Every con I've ever seen him at. And he was telling the translator where he got them, and then all of a sudden, he stops and turns around and picks up his cap that he wore to the banquet, and he gave it to me as a gift. And I put it on, and I'm wearing it all night long. And then Romy put on her cowboy hat, and it was like a hat fest. Because you know, 2 Eds are better than 1. Woo! Anyway, so then, you guys will get a big kick out of this. This will give you something to look forward to. At one point, I said to Romy, did you ever tease around and have jokes and play jokes with the actor that plays Mustang? And she's like, well, the actor that plays Mustang is much older than me, and so I don't know. No. And I said, well, I do. I said, we do. I said, the actor that plays Mustang in English is very tall, and he's very young. And of course the translator is translating all this, and then I said, I had to do it. I said, in fact, one of the favorite jokes I've ever played on him was when I said one time, Colonel Mustang is dead sexy in a miniskirt. And he translates it to her, and her face is like, oh, sexy! Mustang is sexy! And I said, and my friend was videotaping, and I said, would you say that in Japanese? And she did, in Ed's voice. So the next incarnation of that godforsaken line is the Japanese Ed saying it in Japanese. So be looking for that. I'll get that up somewhere where you can see it.